Before we get to our show, here is a podcast we think you're going to love.
Hello, this is Eric Carter Lundeen, the host and producer of True Consequences, a true crime and mystery podcast with stories based in New Mexico and the American Desert Southwest. We'll uncover cases such as the Toy Box Killer, one of the worst serial rapists and suspected serial killers in New Mexico's history. We will also discuss mysteries such as alien sightings, as well as hauntings and other weird things that happen in this area of the country. I hope you'll give me a chance and listen to True Consequences. I think you might enjoy it. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Dun, da, 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 da.
Yay!
Today is a very historic day.
A historic day indeed.
This is the 100th episode of Perhaps It's You.
Can you believe we've made it to 100 episodes?
No, I can't. If you're counting at home, yes, that does include some specials, some pupcasts, some bonus episodes. But it is 100 times that we have sat down and recorded free content for you.
It doesn't include Patreon
Our
episodes.
dear listeners. This is the 100th
But
time
otherwise,
we did this when we could have been doing anything else.
Yeah.
And you're welcome. You're so welcome.
You're welcome.
And we're here today with some flights of polar water to celebrate this historic time with the company that we keep giving free advertising to for some goddamn reason. But also we have a very special guest today. A fan favorite. It's Mac.
Hello.
Everybody has a voice crush on Mac, so he's here to celebrate 100 times that he wasn't able to make noise in his own home. Thank you for being with us, sir.
The dogs would also like to announce that they are here.
Yes, the pod dogs
Lenny
are
and
here.
Curtis.
Everyone's here for this historic occasion where we can look back on me and Samantha going to the Brooklyn Park Library to record our first episode.
We allegedly cut some zip ties off some cords and threaded them through the wall.
We didn't actually have to do that.
We
just
didn't.
Considered it.
We did consider it for a second. I almost implicated us in a crime.
But we didn't actually commit a crime.
No,
it was
we
a
didn't.
thought crime.
We didn't. But we did struggle to get the cords right at the Brooklyn Park Library.
And we still ended up with a episode that's weirdly in stereo.
Yeah.
So you can go back, listen to our first episode. We didn't think anyone would listen to this. And then we went on to have the 37th top TV podcast in Belgium or something.
Croatia?
Yeah, I think it was Croatia.
Or was it Finland? We're huge in Finland.
We're really big in Finland 1 week. So
For 1 week, we were really big in Finland.
I mean, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
Samantha and I didn't know each other that well when we started this ridiculous exercise.
It's weird to think that we didn't.
This has really brought us together. It's introduced us to our dear listeners.
We took a business trip.
We
business.
We started
now?
a business. We have a shadow box full of weird stuff people have sent us. Like, who could have seen this coming?
Certainly not me.
When I was counting on one hand the number of people I would get to listen to this podcast, the 5 listeners, of which Mac was supposed to be one. Him. And here we are, thriving despite that discouragement. Like a weed growing out of a crack in the sidewalk. We're still going.
Cheers
Right?
to that.
Cheers to that.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
Oh,
We're
thank
raising
you.
a glass.
I don't know which one this is. We have 3
I don't know. I
different
think this
polar
is
waters.
cherry. Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you.
We're drinking Seltzer-Aid, which seems to be the only one we can get our hands on in Minnesota. We have cherry limeade, mango limeade, and watermelon. Is it lemonade?
Yes.
Delicious. I really like the cherry. I think that's my favorite.
I'm going with mango, but watermelon is a strong contender.
Mango's solid.
What do you think, Mac?
They're good. I'm going to go with watermelon on the...
Yeah,
The favorite?
It's really good.
It's really delicious.
We also have a box of English Cadbury chocolates sent to us by listener Becky.
It was sort of a happy accident that I forgot them last time we recorded because
So
now we
can
have
celebrate
them for our 100th episode.
I would like to see what Double Decker is all about.
Okay.
Let's open it up. People love that crackle noise.
Eat
Get
it
that
right into the mic.
Yeah. Get that. We're experts. We're professionals.
We know how to podcast.
Yeah. So this is one thing people love on a podcast.
Is when you stop to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, there's like...
It looks chewy. Like it must be Oh, Liz is pulling it
Yeah,
apart.
Would you like some?
nougat.
Yes.
There's a considerable amount of nougat in a double decker, and a crispy part.
It looks like a.
It's a bit like a
Hardly.
Milky Way with some like Rice Krispie bits in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got a. From just looking at it, it'd be a Nestle Crunch with a Snickers top. Like if instead of peanuts, you had Nestle Crunch. That would, Except that there's caramel in.
I kind of don't like the nougat part though. It's very sweet. Like holy shit, that is a lot of sugar. That will keep me awake while we make this podcast. Is there another one you want to try right now?
Wasn't there one that was your favorite?
Oh yeah, let's have some flake.
I want to try that one.
Love a flake.
All right, Liz handed me a flake. Oh, it's very light.
It's just like light chocolate.
It looks like a chocolate piece of asbestos.
That was the inspiration.
I was trying to describe this. It's like folded in on itself, kind of like an intestine or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely what I want to think
It's
about
an
while I eat it.
unappetizing piece of looking piece of candy, but I'm gonna taste it.
Croissant kind of.
Yeah, it's like a croissant. That's
That is
much
not
more.
how I expected it to taste, but it's good. It's a little chalky.
It is a little chalky. This might not be the world's freshest flake.
I don't know how I feel about the flake.
All right, well, more for me then.
Yeah.
It's described as the crumbliest, flakiest milk chocolate.
Oh, that's what makes the biggest mess of any chocolate bar on the market.
I mean, it says best before December 2020, so we supposedly have a whole other year to eat this, but I'm skeptical of that. Mac, I am noticing you're not really giving us any accolades. I'm like leaving healthy pregnant pauses for you.
Me to just chip in with congratulatory.
Yeah, and it's like weirdly quiet from your side of the table.
Sorry, I tell everybody that I'm pulling out like a big novelty-sized check, like you won a golf tournament, and
Publishers Clearinghouse.
yeah, here it is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow, this $0, 0 cent check is amazing, Mac. You're like, well, I spent all the money on the novelty check.
Yeah, that was you'd be shocked at the cost of getting one of those printed. But no, this is great. Congratulations. This is you guys have come a long way. It's been how long has it been? Is it almost 2
Like
years?
2 years?
Yeah.
Oh, a little over 2 years?
Yeah.
So that's something.
Time flies, but it's
Yeah.
something.
It's been a journey of aliens, murder, and friendship.
That should go on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Aliens, murder, and friendship.
The occasional hedgehog crop circle.
Occasional hedgehog. Many a mustache.
So yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was actually Mac's idea, everyone.
Yeah,
The
Matt gets
mustache
credit
ratings.
for rating the mustaches on the
best
show.
mustache of the episode.
Yeah.
It stands out immediately when you start watching the program.
I don't know if it's just the time period or there's so many cops.
I think
or
it's the
the
third.
the culmination of the two.
Yeah.
Probably. There's the occasional mullet as well.
Yeah, sure. We've done a best mullet a couple times.
Been some really standout mustaches though.
Yeah. What did you have a favorite mustache?
You know, the walrus comes to mind, but also,
Sure.
do you remember that guy that had the extremely long white mustache?
Yes.
That was also quite unruly. I was looking through our Instagram last night, and that one stood out to me. I don't remember what we called it, but it was
No, I
like
I
a
do
mad
remember.
scientist mustache
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy saying, "Sir, give me the walrus." That stands out for
Definitely.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know how you ask for that at the barber shop, or if you just do that yourself at home and
Give me the walrus.
Yeah.
I think they just know
you
what that
say,
means.
Yeah.
Give me the walrus. When you go to the barber shop, do you have to say, "I don't want a mustache"?
yeah, unless you specify not to, they will automatically give you a mustache.
Is there like a chart of mustaches on the wall and you just like point to the one you want?
No, they.
And then if you point to Hitler, everybody just like
they-
shakes their head at you.
You, get
You still get
escorted to
it,
the-
but
yeah.
it's with shame.
And they don't like put the lotion or anything on afterward. They just, they let you get razor burn. It's no, I don't think a barbershop has really put up the menu since the mid '60s at this point. So
Well, this is clearly when this country lost its way.
yeah.
You know what? Since Pinterest, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can just
the
bring it up on
barbershop
your phone.
menu has really gone by the wayside.
It's so disappointing.
everybody just wants one Final Fantasy character or another at this point. So it's
Did we have Lenny when we started this podcast? But we didn't have Curtis.
no, Curtis is Curtis is.
Wow.
It was season 2. The ratings were dropping, so you were trying to charge up a little, you know.
And I
brought in that
asked
cute little
Samantha,
kid.
should I get a second dog? And she was like, absolutely.
I'll always say yes to that question.
Yeah, she did really talk me into it, so it's all her fault.
Curtis has you to thank for.
Also,
No, Curtis
all
hates
my,
me. So,
Well, but
I mean,
he owes-
little does he know.
Yeah.
all my houseplants are also Samantha's fault. That's her doing. Just her
I'll
presence.
always encourage a houseplant.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can talk about Unsolved Mysteries, the thing that this podcast is supposedly about.
It's supposed to be about unsolved mysteries. I kind of wish we were doing a different episode for our 100th.
yeah, this
but
is such an occasion.
This is a weird episode.
We're here in ball gowns, Max wearing a tuxedo, and yet this is the episode we have to talk
Yeah.
about.
It's a shame.
What?
Got
I even
my
read
cummerbund for no good reason.
You can just take that cummerbund off if that'll be more comfortable for you.
Thank you.
I'm removing one of the corsets, but I'm leaving on the under corset.
Okay.
So,
Well,
all right.
I mean, this is a special occasion.
yeah.
So, come on.
Okay, so Mac's grandma, who I know doesn't listen to this podcast, I refer to her as Prim Grandma. And we were, all at a wedding once, and it was very warm. It was at the Henry Ford Mansion.
Fancy.
Outside of the
Yeah.
Detroit. Well, that's why we went. We thought it was going to be like amazing. It was just a wedding. It was
Okay,
whatever.
sure.
But, it's an old house. They didn't have like air conditioning. So it was very warm in there. And a member of Mac's family asked if he was allowed to remove his jacket. And it was like, well, go ask your grandma, see what she says. And her answer was, let your conscience be your guide.
Whether or not you just take your jacket
take
off.
your
Yeah.
jacket off in a 90-degree room.
Yeah.
Let your
So that's what
Be your
that's
guide.
what I say to Mac now.
I'm gonna
about
answer
his tuxedo.
every question. Let your conscience be your guide.
When the answer is clearly if you do, I will be mad about
Yeah,
it.
this will go down in the book of things Grandma is pissed about.
I was like, I can't believe so and so took off their dinner jacket at a boiling hot wedding.
Yeah.
He should have just dripped.
He should, yeah. You gotta soak through. Get the.
Unless you're fainting because you've lost so much water through perspiration.
But now I say that all the time.
You should have to wring the jacket out when you.
Yeah.
Once you do
Let
take
your
it off.
conscience be your guide. Oh, Prim Grandma.
Amazing.
Fortunately, I don't think she knows what podcasts are, so we're
Not really a techie.
Really? Your grandma's not a techie?
yeah, if you can imagine. So if you're watching along at home, we're on what is currently called season 4, episode 20
20.
of Unsolved Mysteries. Yeah, if you're watching this on our evil
We're
overlord's Amazon.
speeding right along season 4.
Should you sign up for Amazon to watch this? No. You can watch it for free on YouTube, and Pluto has some kind of channel. And
Roku has a channel too.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of different. There's like those sort of off-brand Roku channels, and a few of them have.
There's an Unsolved Mysteries one.
Yeah,
so don't bother.
Filmrise maybe is that one?
That's the people that make Forensic Files.
Oh, okay.
But there is a Forensic Files channel also. A lot of ads.
Wow.
So you can just, if you already have Netflix, I would kind of recommend watching Forensic Files on that.
Sure.
Anyway, Amazon sucks. The end. We are now, this episode is bad.
This one is weird. Not only is it bad, but it's weird.
It's bad for our 100th. It's bad for our polar water flight.
It's bad for any time. But you know what? We make the best of it. That's what we do on this podcast.
Yeah.
this podcast is all
You
about
make lemons
alchemy.
into seltzerade.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
really do.
we sure do.
We spin that straw right into gold.
Send us money, Polar.
Yeah. And then we say, we want more gold. Sign up for our Patreon. This gold was not enough.
Cash for gold.
Yeah.
That's our next scheme.
Use coupon code perhaps to get 10% off your.
Is this a good idea? Perhaps. That's how you can remember our non-existent coupon code.
Brilliant.
All right. So, first case. Was this a wanted? I don't even know. I didn't write it down. I
I
think
don't
it was
think
a
it
wanted.
had a little thing at the beginning, did it?
I'm not sure anyone had any hope of ever catching this man, but I guess technically it's a wanted.
Okay. This is the case of Richard Mins. and he sucked. That's basically the case.
Tan, chiseled Richard Mintz.
Yeah, he did really work on his abs before that was a thing, but you would hope that was his only claim to fame. No.
Sadly not.
So we learn of this story through Jenny Smith, who used to be known as Barbara Petrowski, and she has been paralyzed from the waist down.
The chest down.
Oh, right.
I think, yeah.
And who does she hold responsible for this? Richard Mintz. So the two of them began what Robert Stack refers to as a love affair in 1977. You might just call that like dating. I don't.
Yeah, that's a romantic way of saying.
Well, I mean, it's later revealed.
Well, yeah, I guess
it is an affair.
It is an affair.
Right?
True.
Fair enough.
True.
So they met on the ski slopes of Aspen. At the time, she was 23 and he was 47. So
Just a little bit more than twice her age.
yeah.
But that tan, man.
He was very tan.
Yeah,
That
made him look
tan.
young.
Yeah, he probably looked a bit younger than 47. So
Just a bit.
yeah, maybe if we're being generous for no good reason. So the story is that when they met, he was wearing a fluorescent green ski suit, which I think is actually required when you go skiing, and that he at first was like being like really like over the top and trying to impress her, but she wasn't impressed. So he like immediately switched gears and acted like he was like really shy and
Oh. Yeah, this is a manipulator through and through.
yeah, because Barbara, which is what she was known as at the time, it was a former beauty queen. So he just like took one look at her and was like, I want Barbara. So he put on all the charms. He had a bunch of money from a chain of health spas.
I Googled this and I wanted to find out which chain this was, if it was like one I'd recognize, like Bally's or something like that, but it did not let me know who,
Dang.
which brand of health club that Richard Mintz developed. But
Oh, that's too bad.
Dang, how is that information so hidden?
We want to know.
it's weird, yeah.
Richard Mintz has connections, clearly.
I demand truth in the health spa industry.
You'd think like somebody started a big chain of.
I mean, maybe they've gone out of
stores.
business by now, but
the Wikipedia page was just a stub at this point.
oh no.
I don't even think it exists.
Maybe they were
honestly.
affiliated with Just Sweats.
I mean, maybe he sold
They
Just
sold Just
Sweats
Sweats,
at
yeah.
the health spa.
Maybe.
Well, actually, part of the way that he sort of like wiggled into her life was that he hired her as a model for the health spas to help her pay for school, and then used that as an excuse to lavish her with gifts and attention. So she quickly fell over heels for him. Then what we see is a scene where he is over at her place, and then a woman in a fur coat comes and is banging on the door and says, my husband is in your house and I want to see him right now. Oh.
Ooh.
I guess I spoiled that a moment
Ooh.
ago.
Yeah, rude awakening
Yeah.
for Barbara. He had failed to mention that he was married.
I loved how Robert Stack put that.
Did I not say? I could have sworn.
And then his explanation, according to her, is this very manipulative, like, well, I loved you so much that I had to compromise my integrity
Yeah.
and
I felt
not-
bad for his integrity.
and not let you know because I knew that you wouldn't be with me. So can't you see,
It's such a-
baby,
yeah.
how much that hurt me to lie to you?
Oh, that's so evil.
That's so evil. So he claimed that he was legally separated, but
Can you be legally separate? How does that work?
I think you can actually.
like if
I've-
you've lived apart for enough years?
I've heard it. I don't know if there's a form or, I mean, it's always on TV, but I don't know that I've ever met a person who is currently legally separated but not divorced.
I think
or,
it's like it can be part of your divorce, proceedings. So that like your divorce isn't finalized, but you're also maybe a debt that you rack up
that
in
makes
that
sense.
time
Yeah,
period.
so you can't just go and
Oh,
on a
sure.
shopping spree. That makes some sense.
Right.
yeah.
Or if you start a relationship, you're not.
That's not
No.
held against you
Yeah.
as divorce.
I assumed it was like a card a judge signs that says like okay to date, right? And then you like show
Yeah.
it to people
There's
like,
actually a
oh
big
look,
rubber
look.
stamp.
Yeah.
That
Well, I assume it's something pretty official because at one point she looks into it and finds out that's actually not true.
okay.
He's
She goes
not.
to the
I don't know. She calls the public records.
clerk has to-
the okay to date card. Turns out it's not laminated and it's
Technicality,
printed on a
but
home printer. It's like,
regardless.
wait a minute.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's also something that probably varies by state. So this would be in California, and I don't know how who knows how their laws work.
Richard was lying.
Yeah,
so.
but he was totally lying. So she was mad to find out that he was divorced, and they separated for a little bit, but then he explained how really he had to do it because he loved her so much, and he was really legally separated, and blah, 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 blah. So they get back together. And part of his grand gesture to win him back is that he bought this townhouse for them to live in, and said that it was in her name and that all of the stuff in it was hers. So the wife eventually finds out about this townhouse and then does actually file for divorce. And he does not like this one bit, and that sort of reveals his true colors. That after the wife files for divorce, Barbara sees him like his true self. He's a lot more violent. He's getting angry over little things. The wife ended up getting $6 million in the divorce, and around that same time, Barbara found out that she was pregnant. So he was not happy about it, and there's a really terribly acted, perhaps the worst acted scene I've seen on Unsolved Mysteries yet, of them in a kitchen, and he like pushes her, and she's like, I told you I'm pregnant. I told you. And he's like, yeah, well, abort it.
Yeah.
Abort it.
It felt like they were improvising the whole thing. Like they did not have lines when they walked into the scene.
It's so bad.
Just shouting abort it.
But no.
Yeah,
but I don't want to.
You should.
I did say that, but also I said abortion.
Yeah, so
it's
so bad.
It's really bad.
So bad.
So at this point, Barbara feared for herself and for her unborn child. So while Richard was gone, she decided to move out with all of the furniture. We get a scene of the moving guys taking the couch and whatnot out of the townhouse. And then Richard comes home to an empty townhouse that's full only of wailing saxophone music. Because it's...
the music in this entire segment.
So bad!
Like, at certain points, it's like smooth jazz. I don't know. It's just completely...
Yes.
It makes no sense. Given the context of the story.
I think Robert Stack found this story more romantic than it is. It's actually like terrifying and not romantic at all. Because, why so much saxophone music?
I don't understand.
It almost feels like some other TV show was making this and then they cut it, or it was like
it's like soap opera music set to Unsolved Mysteries.
And they were like, crap, we can't actually make this as a whole show, so let's just
give it to Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved Mysteries, could you do anything with this footage? And they were like, I guess.
Maybe. I mean, because this is barely a mystery. Like, there's no... I guess where he is.
Yet somehow there's a whole book about it.
Yeah.
So
there's a TV movie with Shannon Doherty as well.
Oh. Okay. So she moves out. Richard hears a saxophone. He's sad. So...
That's exactly how it went.
So, he was... obviously very angry about the way that this went down. So he somehow got word to her that he wanted to meet her at the hotel where he was staying. And Barbara says she knew this was a bad idea, but she agreed to go anyway. Not only does she agree to go, but then when he's not there, she just sits in front of his hotel door until after midnight. Barbara,
leave that tan in the past.
Yeah, you gotta move on, girl. You gotta move on with your life.
Those abs were there, and they were good, but you gotta let them go.
You gotta let the oh my god, I can't talk. Fluorescent green ski suit go.
That ski suit was great, but there's more.
There's more to life.
There's other guys out there in fluorescent ski suits.
Don't be so impressed by philanderers and their townhouses. Okay, so look, mistakes were made. She sat in front of his hotel door until after midnight. Richard comes drunk, stumbling back with another broad. And Barbara, was that part of the plan? I don't even understand.
I'm not. So he has a plan, but I don't understand how he executes it.
No, it makes no sense. So of course Barbara's like, oh, it didn't take you long to move on. I don't know why I agreed to meet you. And she storms off. Well, Richard grabs her and pushes her into the hotel room, at which point the police bust in and arrest her, or are gonna arrest her because he has an arrest warrant saying that she stole that furniture.
I don't understand how this works. I think he's bribed the police, but that's not super clear. I'm not sure why they're just like waiting around. He was way late. So I'm not sure if the police were just like hanging out also waiting.
Maybe the reason he was waiting for the police to show up. I'm not really sure. I don't know why there was another woman there. I mean, I know that's to make her jealous, but I feel like that should be done separate of this like police sting.
I don't know.
This
Richard's
all
plan is strange.
Made so little sense that I feel like we're not really getting all of it in a certain way.
Yeah.
There's parts left out.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah, how did the police just show up suddenly? Which is the way, at least Unsolved Mysteries made it seem.
Yeah.
That I do not quite understand.
I mean, I do think he's bribed them, or because he's rich, has the connections to, like, if he says, like, go arrest this woman, like, that's enough.
Yeah.
But,
well, and as we keep going, I think ultimately the answer to this mystery, the solution to this unsolved mystery is that Richard Mintz has paid off the cops, like, throughout. Because all of the questions can easily be answered by, oh, the cops are in his pocket. So it's in a way, yeah, I think they were kind of trying, maybe that's ultimately what it was, is that they were trying to not say that the, whatever town this is detective squad is on the take.
Well, okay, because, so she is arrested for supposedly stealing this.
Allegedly, I should say. I don't want to.
Yeah, actually, definitely allegedly. Always allegedly.
Definitely, probably allegedly,
people have
maybe.
alleged, who are not me, that this is the most corrupt police department.
So she's arrested for the theft of that furniture and also for assault for hitting Richard with her purse in the hotel. Where she, like, literally was, like, grabbing her and dragging her. Okay.
Whatever.
So then she is in jail, and a detective comes to the cell and is like, we can put this behind you right now.
Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, this is definitely evidence to the fact that these
all
police
you have to
officers
do
are...
is sign this statement. I'll give it to Richard, and he'll drop the charges.
And the statement was like, I've never known him.
I've never met him.
I've never met him, despite the fact that she's carrying his baby.
I'm not carrying his baby. I've never met him. You know, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, what? I'm not signing this. This isn't true. And then they were like, well, then you can just stay in jail for a bit. And
there was also like $5,000 in the envelope too, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah. There's also money
in
to encourage, which often detectives are like, here, take some money and sign the
Yeah.
statement.
So, I mean,
very on the up and
yeah.
up. She ends up miscarrying while in jail, but Richard does not know that. She keeps that information to herself. So then she like was going to have to go to trial for this theft and assault charge. At one point, the police come with a search warrant to her home, and they just let Richard come in her house
and demand that things be taken away.
Yeah, he's just like, okay, so pack up this furniture. We're going to just put it in storage. It's just the most like vindictive, ridiculous thing. And yeah, and also the police are like letting him do it.
I mean,
so now we get to 1980, and she's in the parking lot of a Houston donut shop. So she goes in, she buys her donuts or whatever. She gets back in the car, and she's approached by a man who shot into her car 4 times. She has some collapsed lungs. It's pretty serious, and the injuries left her paralyzed from the waist down, or from the chest down. I'm looking at Unsolved Mysteries Wiki. So the bullets collapsed her lungs and severed her spinal cord, leaving her paralyzed from the chest down. Despite her injuries, she remained conscious, and when the paramedics ask her who was responsible, she immediately goes, oh, Richard Mintz.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
who else?
Yeah, who else cares? They don't explain how, but they somehow catch the shooter and the like getaway driver very quickly.
Almost immediately.
Yeah.
But at first, they don't snitch, and they don't say who hired him. Eventually, this is connected to a man named Bob Anderson because they're in his car.
This is where things get confusing for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of names.
I might get some of this wrong. So it gets connected to a man named Bob Anderson. They're in his car, and so the shooter and the getaway driver admit that Bob hired them, gave them the gun, and lent him the car. And then he was hired by a man named Dudley. And then that guy used to be a bodyguard for Richard Mintz.
yeah, well, clearly Richard, operating on the assumption that he is responsible here, put several layers between him and the actual crime.
Sure.
So that, I mean, the reason it's confusing is because it's supposed to be, right?
Okay.
Is this Hitman subcontracting
It
out
basically,
his...
It's like...
So Nathaniel Ivory and Patrick Steen are arrested within minutes of the shooting. I guess they're just really bad at crimes. I'm not clear at all how that happened. And in investigating, they find a former bodyguard of Min's who claimed that a month earlier, a contract had been put on Barbara's life.
There's a really hilarious reenactment where is it like undercover cops or something in the car with in the car with the hitman, and one of them smoking a cigarette, and they're trying to like figure out what he knows. It's wanting to be a cop show, and it's really failing at it.
It's really, really badly done. But there wasn't enough evidence to convict Dudley or anything directly connecting to Richard Mins, who was actually never questioned.
Oh, convenient.
So, unfortunately, Barbara's first trip out of the hospital was to go to court for those bogus charges.
Yeah.
That's literally someone has tried to kill her, and she's still on trial for furniture theft and hitting someone with a purse.
Oh, my God.
But as Robert Stack claims, she never got to prove her innocence because the charges were dropped over a bad search warrant.
Oh, is it how they allowed her?
I don't even know, but also just like, I'm sure she did not care that she didn't get to prove her innocence. She was just like, thank God I do not have to deal with this bullshit anymore.
No kidding.
Yeah, also, maybe when you have a search warrant, don't let the, like, offended party just come into the house.
And take things away.
What? This case is so weird.
I mean, in a way, it's maybe that she was being railroaded pretty easily until, like, guns were involved, and now, like, a new, somebody is going to have to take this a little more seriously,
Right.
Like, sure, Richard will help you set your girlfriend up for stealing your couch or whatever and send her away for 8 months.
But you can't try and murder her.
You can't kill her, dude. Yeah. So.
Mins actually claimed that her attorney had set up the shooting as a publicity stunt.
A publicity stunt? Oh, yes. You know what might be great for our podcast? If one of us gets shot. That makes no sense. A publicity stunt?
Yeah.
No one wants to get shot for publicity. No. You, I don't know, have an Instagram scandal for publicity.
Yeah,
you don't get shot. It makes no sense.
So by March of 1981, Ivy and Steen were convicted of attempted murder. Those were the actual shooter and driver, and sentenced to 35 years in prison. A year later, Barbara filed a wrongful injury suit against Mins, Bell, Anderson, Steve, and Ivory. However, before depositions could begin, Mins fled the country and has been hiding ever since.
Didn't she win that, though?
She did, eventually.
Yeah.
So Anderson was found guilty of soliciting a murder in 84. Bell was found guilty of soliciting a murder in 87 after one of his employees testified against him. Both were sentenced to 38 years. Bell was released on parole in 91. So then for the lawsuit, Mins was ordered to pay Barbara $58 million for wrongful injury. So he was wanted in questioning for the attempted murder and also was supposed to, pay this money.
I think, was it the author that wrote the book about the case, or was it her sister or someone who talked about the legal battle?
Yeah, so that was author Suzanne Finston, who wrote a book called Sleeping with the Devil.
Okay, of course.
And there's also a movie, there must be the movie with Shannon Doherty that's based on it.
And she mentioned, it's weird that you could win a civil case against someone who tried to kill you and lose your legal case, but this
Became a
is
little
the
less
system
weird.
we're dealing with.
Yeah, it's a little less weird to us now, having...
After the OJ situation.
Yeah,
right, yeah, much more common.
We're aware that can happen. So sort of at this point, Barbara changes her name to Janny Smith, but then begins rehabilitation with a Dr. Gerald Petrovsky, which is almost her last name.
And the way Robert Stack was saying it, I kind of lost it for a minute there. Like, what the hell? But yeah, it's just a weird coincidence.
Petrovsky to Petrovsky. Okay, and so in 1991, she and Dr. Petrovsky are married. So here are the results. He was captured, but it's not very satisfying. In July of 1994, Richard Mins, who was 64 at the time, was arrested at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport on suspicion of obtaining several fraudulent passports. He received a 4-month sentence.
Months?
Yeah, and was fined $100,000. In November of 1994, he was deported because he was in the United States illegally.
All right, well.
He has never been charged in the attempted murder. Although the police have said they believe he was involved, even though Barbara did win a $58 million civil judgment, on appeal, it was overturned on technical grounds, which... What?
Yeah, they really underplayed that. Oh, hey, she won $58 million. Oh, except
she didn't in the end.
Which I don't think she was ever going to get $58 million.
Oh,
there was
for sure
no
not.
indication that he had $58 million.
Robert Stack also told us that he like hid all his money in offshore accounts, so there was no way she was getting a dime from Richard Mintz.
I mean, I think the obvious explanation for all of this nonsense is just that he has a lot of influence in the police and legal system.
Definitely.
Of the area.
It's just ridiculous to me that he wanted her killed because he didn't want her to be able to like sue for paternity, but then ended up being sued for trying to kill her.
Yeah. Irony.
Yeah,
he is still alive but has renounced U.S. citizenship and now lives in Israel.
Okay.
So everything we said about him was alleged, but I do hate him. I think that's fair. Seems like a really bad dude.
Yeah.
It's not that interesting of a case.
No.
Because it's really clear that he's guilty and it's just very long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it does highlight that some people really cannot handle not getting their way to such a violent degree. Such a degree of being controlling. It's disturbing. Just let her go, dude. You were married.
Yeah.
It's like all his fault, and yet he still is angry about it.
Maybe it's all the tanning.
Might be all the tanning.
Maybe too much of the sun's rays just zapped his brain.
Fried his brain. I mean, it's
what other explanation could there... I mean...
sad that there's people like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Guess what? We only have one more case to talk about.
One more, and it's a missing heir, a lost heir.
And I'm
searching
not
for an heir.
The heir, which is what's really sad about this one.
Unfortunately. So we're looking for the heirs of Catherine Bennett, and this is an extremely short mystery.
Before we start, should we eat another candy?
Sure. Break one open. I have some cherry polar left in my flight.
Let's find out what a twirl is about. Perhaps it's time for a twirl. Okay, this seems very similar to the flake. Not seeing a huge difference.
It looks exactly like the
twirl
flake.
Just a flake that gets another dip of chocolate?
Yeah, it is. It's exactly the same.
Okay, I mean, I'm fine with that.
Well,
more for me!
More for Liz. Okay. In 1941, Catherine...
Just give this money to me. I could really use it. For the Capybara Ranch.
Yeah, most of it just went back into the state, but spoiler. All right, in 1941, Catherine Bennett met a soldier named Gilbert Bennett, or well, her name wasn't Bennett at the time.
I mean, maybe it was.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't like the last mystery where she changed her name to something very similar to her original name. Catherine met a soldier named Gilbert Bennett, and they were married 6 months later. After the war, they moved to Portland, Oregon, where Gilbert worked as a photographer. Catherine was often the subject of his photographs. They would go fishing in the Pacific Northwest and usually spend all of their free time together.
Jackets.
So adorable. In 1980, after 38 years of marriage, however, Gilbert passed away. Catherine never told Gilbert of her past. It was just something she didn't ever want to talk about. If you brought it up, she would change the subject or tell you that she didn't want to talk about it. And
my past? I have no past.
No one really pushed her on it.
And then she would throw a drink into the fire. No, probably not, but let's pretend.
So no one in her life knew where she was born, anything about her family. They didn't have any children. When she passed away, when Gilbert passed away, Catherine told his relatives that she had no relatives of her own and was raised in an orphanage. Eventually, she lost contact with all of his relatives. She became what Robert Stack calls an eccentric recluse and rarely left her home.
So glamorous. Most glamorous words of all.
We see her like in the cemetery, shakily putting a single rose on his grave. And then in June 1990, she passed away at the age of 80. no biological relatives could be found, representatives of the Department of Oregon went to Catherine's house and found anything of value.
And to be real judgy about her house.
Oh, yes. And it did seem like, I don't know, after she lost Gilbert, I think she was very sad. They just
things stack up.
Yeah. Also, she was old and probably she had no one to help her clean.
Yeah, if you ever watched Hoarders, the old A&E show, there was always a story like that. It was like, oh, everything was fine until this tragedy, and then
there's like some emotional event where
everywhere.
people can't deal with it, and then I'm sure she didn't want to get rid of his stuff, and then
Right.
she stops like getting rid of anything, and then cats have the run of the house,
And
then
they didn't have an exploitative TV show to come and help
Oh,
clean
yes.
up. So.
and throw away a bunch of things
Yeah.
and give them like one day of therapy and be like, I'm sure you're fine.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you never. All right, so
That's the hoarder's motto. See you never. So they drive away with that dump truck.
So the representatives of the Department of Oregon went to her house looking for anything that they could find of value or a will or any information about potential heirs. The house was in a state of disrepair. There was a lot of garbage and items cluttering it. However, they found that with Social Security checks, rare coins, and money from various bank accounts, plus her house, that she had an estate worth more than $125,000.
And yet left none of it to me, which is very rude.
She didn't bequeath it to this podcast, which is
Yeah.
extremely rude.
I mean-
yes, we weren't having a podcast then.
But it would have been great seed money to get us started.
Yeah, Catherine.
Think about it.
So without a will, her estate would go to her closest surviving relative. However, with little certain about Catherine's past or who her relatives might be, the Department of Oregon is trying to figure out who she might be related to. What is known is that she was born in 1910 in Kansas City, Kansas, and that she told her in-laws that she grew up in a Catholic orphanage after the death of her parents. However, a document from 1945, which is 3 years after her marriage, said that her father died before she was born, but that her mother at the time was still alive and married someone named Joseph Fabic. It also stated that she had a brother named Martin. Before her marriage...
Her mom could be alive and she could live in an orphanage.
Yeah.
They acted like...
That's a good point.
They acted like, oh my goodness, we found a hole in her story. It's like, yeah, but you can have
Liar!
a living mother and grow up in an orphanage.
Yeah, that's
there's
not
already been like
necessarily-
a dozen terribly depressing unsolved mysteries.
Yeah,
about that, right? Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not actually a contradiction, but go on.
So she also has a family Bible in which her maiden name is written as Bernard. With all of the conflicting information, it has been difficult for the Department of Oregon to locate any known heirs. So the result is that this case is solved. A distant relative of Catherine eventually came forward and received half of the money from her estate. I'm not really sure why they didn't give all of the money to this person.
And then the state of Oregon was like, and half for us. So
Yeah.
that worked out great. It's like, why? Why wouldn't the one relative get all of it then?
That's
guess-
the unsolved mystery.
That is
about
kind of,
it.
I guess I understand only giving her half and like waiting for like someone else, maybe a more closer relative to come forward. But after a certain point when you don't find one, wouldn't you just give the rest of the money to that person?
They're like, it actually was a lot of effort to go through her dirty house, so we're pocketing
with all the
this.
fees it ended up being about.
Yeah, I thought that was a little outrageous.
Yeah, because when no other relatives came forward, the remaining money went to the Oregon State Treasury. So it just disappeared into the coffers of the state of Oregon. Catherine is on Find a Grave, so you can go pay your respects there. I thought the photos of her and Gilbert were super adorable.
They're really cute.
They were just the sweetest, cutest couple. Because she was the subject of his photography, there was a lot of pictures of her with her cats and just going through life and them fishing. It was really adorable. And I guess hopefully they're together again.
Yeah, Robert Stack at one point said that they made a universe for two.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's so sweet.
So sweet.
That is
like,
really
what more
sweet.
could you want?
Pretty much.
How did Unsolved Mysteries get this story? Like,
I
this is the most obscure, like, barely a mystery kind of thing.
I assume the state of Oregon contacted them because they were seeking heirs.
They had a sliver of airtime after that really long mystery, and we're like, what can we squeeze in here? We don't have time for another Yeti mystery.
If only. This episode could have really used a Yeti.
The
Definitely.
abominably smelly grave site or whatever.
The abominably smelly grave. The abominably smelly ghost.
Yeah.
I guess the house probably didn't smell that good. When
No,
That's true.
they did
Probably
say it had
not.
fleas.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I felt bad that they were like going on national television and just like judging her house. I was like, she's dead.
Yeah.
She didn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah,
They made a big spectacle about how she had all this money, but she lived in squalor or
Right.
whatever. And it
I
was
think
like,
she just
well,
wanted to be in the house she had lived in with her husband, and she didn't really care about that stuff.
yeah.
And they just kept sending her social security checks, whether she cashed
didn't
them or
cash
not.
them, right? So.
So I don't know. I just don't think she really cared. She just had her cats in her house, and she was fine with that.
Yeah. Exactly.
So she's a hero in that way.
Yes, I think so.
I did have a mustache. It's not the greatest. It's for my mystery. It was just a cop. I drew it here. I called it Mr. Puff.
That is a beautiful drawing of a mustache.
It was pretty puffy.
That it was pretty
It
puffy.
was like a cop mustache, but bushier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was. It's not spectacular.
I guess because there wasn't as much law enforcement in the episode that
There was a shortage of mustaches for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's true.
But let's rate this boring episode that obviously I'm gonna give 5 Robert Sacks to.
mysteriousness. Not mysterious at all.
Thumbs down on that.
0, Roberts.
All of these mysteries were solved immediately.
We get 2 totally unnecessary updates that we've already covered.
At the end. They just threw them on at the end.
I hate it so much.
Usually they're sprinkled throughout, but
They clearly just this was like 3 p.m. on a Friday when they were putting this together. And they were just like, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Let's go.
roll it. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The reenactments?
Actually, I thought they were horrible.
They weren't good.
Notably bad in my mystery. The acting is the worst acting I've seen on this show.
Yeah, there wasn't many reenactments in mine, so yeah, thumbs down, I guess.
Probably the most thumbs down in 100 episodes.
Could have. Wow.
like
We're really,
the worst reenactments we've seen.
we're breaking records here.
Yeah.
Fashion.
There was actually some cute looks in your mystery from the photos he had of her,
That's true.
but even so, I would just take a sideways.
Reenactment. The reenactors in your mystery had some good like sweatsuit
That's
ensembles.
true.
There were
That's
some
true.
scrunchies that I really liked, but yeah, I don't know, not enough to carry the whole episode
We
in this
didn't-
category.
We didn't really see the fluorescent green
No,
suit.
that would have
was
brought
just-
this up.
That was just talked about and
Hilariously.
I feel like,
How could you only talk about the
Yeah.
fluorescent? You can't include it in the. That's honestly Unsolved Mysteries. What are you doing?
This is
Yeah, that's
malpractice. Basically.
they're trying to get some fashion cred without even having the evidence to back it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So
Thumbs
down,
And
way
Robert
down.
Stack, where was he?
Yeah, this episode feels so short because of the stupid updates and the one mystery being too long that I don't even really feel like we see him.
No.
I felt like there was a like an intro to a commercial kind of thing.
Oh, I think we did have one of those.
But that he wasn't even in the usual. It's usually him like walking down a hallway. It's like a full shot, and I felt like this one almost felt like he was in a newsroom or something. It was.
I think he's
Oh, yeah.
supposed to be in the telecenter.
Yes.
Where you can call in.
Okay. I
Like
see.
like to give you the impression that if you call,
you
you'll
might talk to Robert
Stack.
Stack. He's just waiting.
Yeah.
Gonna answer the phone. Unsolved
Yeah.
Mysteries.
We'll be right back.
I see.
And then he's
Okay.
like, "Get me the hell out of here.
Yeah,
Where's my
yeah,
trailer?"
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm gonna say thumbs down. Actually,
thumbs down.
is this the first time we've said thumbs down for every category?
Oh no, we've done it lots of times before.
Oh, okay. Was that Alcatraz?
Probably. Probably. Okay, so how? I don't know. Is this a 2?
I would say 2.
To rate it on a scale of 0 to 10 Robert Stacks, I guess 1 to 10 Robert Stacks.
We only do it to 5, Samantha, unless you've like made a new show.
Oh my god, I've already forgotten how to do this. Good thing it's our last episode ever.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've been at work all day and you've had a long day, and now you had to come here and record this stupid podcast you do for some reason.
Almost
and
like that. No, I think I would give it 2 out of 5 Robert Stacks.
I would give it a 2. The first mystery is fine. It's just too long and badly presented. But I don't know. You get to hate an abusive asshole, I guess. Just so there's
Sure.
some merit to that.
Mac, what do you rate this episode?
I guess I'll go with 2 as well. I mean, it's definitely
disappointing though. It's maybe a 1.5.
I mean, I thought it sucked. So
Would you give it a 1?
You can't give it a 1.
I
You
guess
can give it
I
a 0.
I guess
this
it's
is
Yeah.
you can do whatever.
I mean,
You could say this isn't even on the scale. This doesn't even rate.
I'm not a completist of the series, so I can't say definitively, but it's by far the worst one I've seen.
Whoa, shit.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good.
Actually, it is very. When Samantha told me that there was only 2 mysteries for the one we were going to do for our 100th episode, I was disappointed. And then when I watched it, I was like, this is even worse than
more
that.
disappointing.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with 1.5
Okay, I stand by that. Yeah.
because yours is kind of sweet. It's just like
so
really short.
You blinked and it was over.
Yeah.
I don't know. There just wasn't a mystery to it.
No,
it was like
there was
this
no
lady,
mysteriousness.
Do you know her? You know, I mean, this kind of.
Don't you wish you got this money?
Yeah.
Well, you don't.
And I guess when it originally aired, you wouldn't have had the little update saying, "Oh, they just kept some of it."
Oh, the government just had them out. I'm sure you're really happy with that outcome.
But like, so it might have been like, "Ooh, maybe somebody's gonna get that
the
money."
idea
at
of
the
me
time.
sitting down on the TV at like 1991, and then you find out that you're the lost heir.
Yeah,
oh my god, that would
be
have been
mind-blowing.
amazing.
That would be amazing
Yeah.
for you in
Yeah.
1991.
That's true.
For us today.
For everyone else, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
She wore a mohair sweater and just wandered around the yard, kind of Grey Garden style.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe at the time, like I was talking about hoarders, this is a familiar thing to me. Maybe at the time it would have seemed like a little more like, oh wow, this
That's
is
just a
weird,
messy house.
weird situation. Yeah, and half of TV was about like messy houses in like 2009, right?
That's true.
That's true.
We actually had this amazing experience once where we were watching the show Clean House, and they had an episode about the messiest home in America. And my friend Maya just happened to stop by, which, by the way, do not just stop by my house. I do not appreciate it. But she just happened to stop by, and I said, oh, we're watching the messiest home in America. And she said, oh, is it the so-and-sos? And it was.
Like she knew them?
Yes. She hadn't seen the episode. She knew them from her hometown, and they were known as being these extremely messy people.
They had a New Jersey-wide reputation as being the Loria family, as
Oh
being
my
like
God.
the slobs.
Yeah, she was like, oh, is it about the Lorias? Ha ha.
Yeah.
And it was. Because everyone in town knew that they would just throw their dirty they lived in a big, very nice house.
Yeah.
This is not, unlike a lot of shows, like this is not a situation of poverty. This is not making fun of people for being poor. This is just slobs. They would, in their very nice, beautiful house, just throw their dirty laundry over the top banister of their staircase, and it would just pile up to the point where you couldn't open the front door anymore. And that's why everyone in town knew, is because if you went to their house, you couldn't fucking get in because of all their dirty laundry.
Like,
How
trash
did they just
all over
kept
the place.
buying new clothes? Or how did they have so much clothes?
They did have a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of it was on the floor.
Yeah. So buy some shelves, I
Yeah.
guess. But
Yeah.
it was just weird that of everyone in the United States, she was like, "Oh, the Lorias,"
yeah. I'm like,
and we were like,
yeah.
"Yes."
Amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think maybe just living through the time where most television shows were about messy homes has sort of made this less novel than
You might have a
would have been at
point.
the time.
Yeah, it wasn't really on TV much.
Yeah.
I remember before that was a trend watching a special about, I think it was people who died at home and it took a while for people to know. You know,
Yeah,
like a normal
sure.
thing you watch TV about. And there is a famous case of 2 brothers who one of the brothers died and the other brother just like left him in the apartment.
Is this the newspapers?
Yes.
The newspapers.
And he had
fell on him?
tons of newspapers. And then the second brother died because the newspapers fell on him and he couldn't get up.
Oh my.
So when they go to when someone finally figured out he was dead, they go into the apartment, they're cleaning it out, and then they find like the skeleton or whatever of the other brother still in the apartment. And I remember telling my mom about that and being like, I'm so worried this is going to be me. And my mom was like, you don't have a bunch of newspapers.
She looked at it very
You
really addressing your concerns.
She was like, yeah, you don't have a bunch of newspapers.
Just don't collect newspapers,
You're gonna get
sure.
covered in books and dresses, or And I was like, that does not make me feel better.
Really
You
really
haven't
get to the
read
heart
the
of the problem.
newspaper.
Yeah.
This isn't going to happen to you.
Liz, you're illiterate, and that's going to save your life.
Just get an online subscription. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
I don't know why we're even talking about this. Hi, Mom. So this week, we're not going to do our usual recommendations. However, we do have an annual tradition of putting out a holiday gift guide.
Yes.
So that is up on the website. If you go to perhapsinsyou.com, under recommendations, you can select gift guide. And that has a little list of gifts that we say you should buy. Okay. Why do we do this? Just because I want to.
It's a great gift guide.
I just like making wish lists and shit. No one pays us to put those things on there. We don't get any money, just
You
like
didn't do
everything
the
we do.
Affiliate marketing thing with the links or anything like that.
Is there
It's nice of you.
a gift on there that you could specifically get for Liz?
Yeah, I made sure to put on something specific. So it says things like, I don't even remember what I put. For
Like,
your favorite goth.
Yes.
And then it has a recommendation, right? And one of them is for me, Liz Vaughn.
I was supposed to come up with one for myself, and I forgot about
Well,
it. So.
maybe we can still add one.
Sure.
Anyway, so that's up. You can check out our annual gift guide to help you find some more unusual things to give the cool people in your life. We don't have any gift ideas for boring normies.
Liz is great at picking out gifts.
I really love it.
It's a talent that you just excel
I've honed
at.
as a skill.
Yes. So the gift guide is exceptional.
And then maybe we'll take a moment to look back on our 100 episodes.
We need some
Yeah.
music or something.
I thought it would be good to talk about our favorite things from the show.
Do you want to start?
Yes. So my favorite unsolved mystery segment that we've done, I still have to say Kurt McFall.
I mean, that's a class. That's what started it all.
That's what started it all.
You have to say that.
The summer that they put Unsolved Mysteries on Amazon Prime, Samantha started watching it, and she was like, Liz.
We were at a coloring night, and I don't even remember how it came up, but I was like, okay, you need to. We were probably talking about Satanic Panic.
Probably.
And I brought up Kurt McFall. I was like, you have to watch this. Unsolved Mysteries is on Amazon, and this episode is bananas.
And then I think it took me a while, and I finally got around to watching it, and then I was like, this is the craziest shit I have ever seen in my life. Look, it's a sad story, but the way that Unsolved Mysteries handles that case is so bizarre and inappropriate and hilarious, and I could not stop talking about it.
It's just at one point they're teenagers playing D&D in a subway parking lot.
It's
and
really
this is nefarious. And
My
there's
son
a
was cool.
Yeah, it's really. It's
was
just
cool.
not only could his father not accept that his son was dead, which I can't imagine how hard that must be. He also could not accept that his son was a nerd.
Yeah.
And his son was a nerd. And I'm sorry.
It's just true.
And your kid wanted to play D&D and LARP in parking lots, and it's okay. And you should love your nerd son.
A lot of people say my son is dead and a nerd, but I insist he is cool and alive. But more importantly, cool.
Cool.
More importantly.
I'm tired of hearing people saying my son was a nerd. He was killed by Satanists. So to me, that's always going to be the best one. It's always going to be the most memorable. If we had been able to shut up about that, we probably wouldn't make this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But we couldn't, and we still can't to this day.
We still can't talk about it. And then Alexa wouldn't go, well, maybe you should make a podcast about Unsolved Mysteries. And we wouldn't have gone, maybe we will, bitch. Maybe we will.
It's hilarious to me that you would call Alexa, someone who most of our listeners don't know, a bitch, because she's literally the nicest person on the planet.
She's literally the sweetest, nicest person on earth. So for her to be like, oh, I don't know, maybe make an Unsolved Mysteries podcast. Maybe I will, bitch.
Yeah.
Watch it. Find
get
out.
in her face.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. So that wouldn't have happened without the Kurt McFall case.
yeah.
It really brings a tear to my eye just thinking about it. My favorite Unsolved Mystery is, this is going to surprise no one, but the Magic Rock.
Oh, it's so
Right.
good.
We were
good
looking
too.
forward to talking about that case for so long, and when it finally happened, it was just pure
Is
joy.
that the same episode?
Pure
No,
joy.
no.
It is not. It's a few episodes later, It's just the way that the police officer in the reenactment stared lovingly at the rock while the gentle flute music played. It's just our conviction that was not a mystery ever. It was just completely made up by Unsolved Mysteries.
I don't know, my family was really lucky.
Still the fun. Yeah, they had like a clothing store, and then they became like a strip mall tycoon because of the magic in the rock.
And a candy store.
Yes.
He had it's like what a child thinks they would do with money. If I had good luck, I'd buy a movie
Put a
theater
vending
and a
machine in my
candy
bedroom.
store.
Yeah.
The magic rock is a gift that keeps on giving. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Listeners have sent us magic rock.
Yeah. I'm like, having watched the episode we were talking about just now and like being like, oh, this really sucks. I honestly was like, now it's good to remember that the show could be fun, right? Like,
These are always 0 stars.
We have to think about these things because a lot of times these episodes are a dud.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it is. We do literally say, "Why do we do this?"
that's true.
So,
but then we have a magic rock
the
segment.
magic rock.
I feel like we need.
runner up for me is the nudist.
oh, see, that was
comedy.
gonna be. I'm surprised that neither of you picked that one.
That's your
the nudist
second.
one is the obvious winner to me. Yeah,
It's a close second. The nudist
Austin
colony.
Powers like
The way that they carefully
blocking the
block each
nudity,
shot
yeah.
so you can't see his wiener is so good.
I mean, they don't quite do the like holding a banana out sort of thing, but it is like
What
so.
time is a potted plant on a table?
And then the guy that has like a garbage bag he's carrying to the
Yeah.
trash can and it's just strategically placed in front of his junk. It's just TV gold.
So good.
It's so cool. The other one I want to give an honorable mention to. Hi, Lenny. What's your favorite mystery?
Every hero dog is his favorite.
Is the segment where the Jesus statue blinked?
oh,
And that's
that was good.
and that's the mystery is did the statue blink?
no, it did not.
It didn't. Spoiler alert, there's before and after photos. The statue
Okay.
never blinked,
And
but
what's amazing to me about that mystery is that when they show the before and after photos side by side, they look fucking the same. It's not even like they took it at a slightly different angle or something. It's just like the same photo twice. And the fact that like they literally have a guy get up on a ladder, it's
to examine the eyes of
everything about it is so wholesome. It's just like pure unadulterated wholesomeness.
the Catholic Church has to chime in and say, we don't believe that a miracle has happened here, but we will entertain more evidence if it becomes available. It's just completely wholesome.
That and why would God use his power
Blinking statue?
to make Jesus not look at something for a second? Okay, so then favorite moments from our show, the superior show, perhaps it's you. My pick is so obvious. Jazzloon.
Jazzloon is such a classic.
I have to see this as a thing I never would have discovered without the podcast. I was just on Twitter trying to drum up those Twitter followers and came upon this thread, this beautiful, amazing thread of people saying, let's see the weird shit in your parents' house while you're home for the holidays. And one of those things was Jazzloon.
I now have a CD of Jazzloon that was given to
You
me.
don't know what Jazzloon is. It's literally someone took the music jazz and combined it with the sound of loons
And that's
for
Jazzloon.
some reason. And it's supposed to be relaxing, I guess, but I laugh so hysterically whenever I hear it that it's not relaxing.
Jazz Wolf, not as good, but same
Yeah.
concept with
I
wolves.
almost forgot about Jazz
Yeah, there is
Wolf.
Jazz Wolf.
I'm waiting for like Samba Whale or
Jazz Honey Badger. And it's just like screams.
Jazzloon is really like it's just a beautiful masterpiece that should be in the Louvre.
I agree. My favorite, maybe not my favorite, but at least like it's up there, is when we decided for unknown reasons to do an episode of Bar Rescue for our 1 year anniversary, which not only has nothing to do with Unsolved Mysteries, but is like the most random TV show I could probably ever think
Because
of.
we talked about it on the show.
We talked about the butt funnel on the show,
and so then we were like,
which is not a funnel to put things in your butt. If you haven't listened to that episode, this is your first episode ever listening to Perhaps It's You. It's not a funnel that you put in your butt. Well, maybe a butt funnel is that, but also like the butt funnel TM that Bar Rescue's John Taffer invented, because he's an inventor.
of bar science.
is like just something that like funnels people into a closed space, which Liz pointed out is just a fire hazard.
Yeah, most people call it a fire hazard. But John Taffer calls it a butt funnel.
It funnels people into a small space so you bump butts, I think, together.
It's supposed to create this sexual tension
before you go on the dance floor.
Energy that
Tina
makes you...
Belcher's dream is people touching butts.
But then that somehow makes you order more drinks.
Yes, you stay in the bar
you
longer
get thirsty.
because you want to like bone on the dance floor, and you get thirsty, and you have to, I don't know, guys buy women drinks. I don't know how it works exactly,
feel like
but
it
it's
wouldn't
science.
work.
It's science.
Because you would be like, let's leave and bone.
It's bar science. No, it's bar science. But anyway, yeah, we were talking about that, and then for some reason decided to do the pirate episode of Bar Rescue for our 1-year anniversary.
You know what? No one really complained. People seem like...
You know what? No one asked for it, but no one complained about it either. So I guess it's
That was
fine.
a great moment in podcast history. Not even the history of this show, this history of all podcasts. Beating out Serial.
Yes.
Yeah.
When people look back on the decade of podcasting,
Yeah.
They'll be like, and remember when Perhaps It's You randomly did that bar rescue episode? Hats off to them.
we just said, hey, it's our podcast. Also, when we did Chicken People for Patreon, so random.
Yeah.
But also so fun.
Okay, but I have to have a second one that I might like even more, actually.
Okay.
Is that when we got, seriously, one mean email. One mean email where a guy told us, quote, the cackling has to stop. And my immediate reaction was to put that on tote bags and sell them. So I took a mean, misogynist, petty email and turned it into cold, hard cash.
We sure did.
Which we just put right back into the show. And the cackling has continued.
The cackling has continued. It's now a hashtag. We wear it with pride. And yeah, that might be our crowning achievement. Is putting that criticism on a tote bag. In gold foil, nonetheless.
I tell everyone with a podcast, if I see someone on Twitter saying like, oh, I just got this bad review, and they said, you know, I have a voice like a goat. I was like, put that on a tote bag. Sell it. Your fans will buy it. Your people will find you. That's a weird thing about podcasting. How did anyone find the show? I have no idea.
No clue.
And then when you have something like that, they will be generous enough. One person bought 5 of them.
Yeah.
Wow. Mac, do you have a favorite moment of us being so hilarious and witty and charming?
Do you have any compliments you'd like
Yeah.
to give us?
Now's your chance. Now's your chance.
We're really open for some compliments right now.
Mac's favorite part is when we turn the heat back on. Yeah. He can come out of
Like shivering under a blanket. Thank you for being done. I think I'm looking at your shadow box of gifts, and I think that the one to speak for the audience, the one you got the most sort of toys about would be the Porpoise of Justice.
Good choice, Mac.
The Porpoise of Justice is a classic.
It's inspired by a guy with too many boats.
A guy with too many boats. And then we got multiple Porpoises of Justice made for us and sent to us in the mail.
Yeah, homemade
beautiful.
Porpoises of Justice.
And this one
There's
came
a lot.
like in a week. Like this one from Studio Crafty showed up like so fast.
A crocheted Porpoise of Justice with a tiny little police hat.
Yeah, it's
I mean, all
amazing.
this stuff is amazing.
Amazing.
Mary Jean made those aliens with the trench coats
tiny
on
trench
them,
coats.
and
Yeah, I think in a larger way,
Yeah.
just the
fact that anyone would send us anything is amazing.
That continues to blow my mind.
And now we have this whole box of chocolates.
That's amazing.
Oh my god. Okay. I think we can wrap it up. It's been 100 episodes.
You've been good to us, listeners.
Thank you so much.
We would have never have eaten a cheesy without you. We would have
my God.
never taken a sip of polar water, perhaps.
Think
about it.
We've really been on a lot of adventures because of this podcast.
We have.
Ghost tours.
Ghost tours. We went to Chicago to a festival.
Yeah.
We met Dangerous Linda.
Yeah.
This podcast has improved my life in every conceivable way.
I agree.
Oh, I'm so warm in my heart right now.
Me too.
Well, here, should we cheers?
We should
To
cheers.
100 more.
100 more episode.
I need some polar water, though. It's bad luck to cheers in an empty cup. Thank you.
All right.
right.
We're going to raise a glass to 100
To
episodes.
100 more.
To 100 more.
100 more.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening. All right, so you can follow us on all of those social media things. Twitter,
Facebook, Instagram, perhaps
We have
it's
a
you.
Facebook group. We desperately need your 5-star reviews because our ego gets inflated by them. And
Yes,
we
we
need that
do.
to keep going.
Yes, we do. We also desperately need your spooky stories. We are fast approaching the end of
Oh
our
my God, we
season.
do.
We probably will have to take a week or two off, maybe for the holidays. Scheduling conflicts happen around this time of the year, but the end of the season is still coming fast, and we need those spooky stories. So
Yes.
email them. Perhaps it's you podcast@gmail.com. There's also a form on our website, perhapsitsyou.com.
And if you want to hear even more content, if 100 episodes is not enough for you, then you need to sign up for our Patreon. That's Patreon/PerhapsIt'sYou. There's 22 episodes of that now.
And you get instant access to the entire back catalog, and you only have to give us $1. You can give us a little more if you want some other cool stuff. Liz designs a coloring sheet every month. That's pretty rad. But you can give us only $1, and you get a bunch of bonus content.
Yeah.
If you want to hear that Chicken People episode, it's on there.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to hear that?
Yeah.
It's great. And we are going to release this month our X-Files episode about home.
Get excited.
Like, you're going to love it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's everything. Thank you so much.
All right.
I'm going to have like a little like happy cry now for 100 episodes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.